Welcome back, YouTube family. My name is Jahmal Coleman. For anybody that's getting to see this channel for the first time, I want to welcome you to the Transformation Channel by the Word of God. Today, we're going to be talking about some powerful, impactful words of wisdom from the book of Proverbs. If you know anything about the Bible, or if you've ever read the Bible before and you heard of Proverbs, Proverbs is definitely a book full of the wisdom of God, the power of God, and the understanding of God. The author of the book of Proverbs is Solomon. He was a king, one of the kings of Israel, King David's son. He's known as one of the wisest men that has ever lived and one of the richest men that ever lived. If you ever take the time to read the book of Proverbs or have read the book of Proverbs, you will know and you will see the wisdom immediately upon the text of the word that you're reading in the scriptures. So today, I just want to speak to you a little bit about some of this wisdom in the book of Proverbs. We're going to be in Proverbs chapter 6, verses 6 through 11. We're going to see what we can mine out, see the jewels and the understanding and the wisdom that we can get and make this applicable to our life. And so let's go ahead and dive in. Verse 6 read of Proverbs 6, chapter 6, verse 6. It says, "Go to the ant, you sluggard, consider her ways and be wise." Have you ever observed an ant? I mean, think about that for a minute. Have you ever considered an ant, observed an ant? I mean, have you ever been in a fight with some ants? I mean, think about it. You're at home and you find out you got ants, or you're at your apartment, your condo, your mobile home, wherever you live, and all of a sudden you have this ant problem. Then the ants, they found some open food, or maybe they didn't find open food. The weather changed, it's raining outside or it's hot outside, and now these ants are popping up and they're coming inside of your house or inside of your living space, and you're just like, wow, you have this ant problem. What are some of the things that we can take from ants? I mean, think about that for a minute. If you've ever tried to get rid of some ants, you know that ants are tenacious. I mean, it's not easy to get rid of ants. You will spray bug spray. I mean, you will try to wipe them up, clean them up, mop them up, patch up the little holes, and ants just keep coming back. They'll keep coming back. You find one way they're coming in, you plug that way up or you cut that way off, the ants will come back in another way. You kill some of them off and you kill a bunch of them. You think you killed them all. You leave and you come back the next day and the ants are still there. They're tenacious. They're not easily discouraged and they're not easily getting rid of. I mean, just think about that. If you've ever been in a fight with ants, you've definitely been in a fight. I mean, they're very just tenacious creatures. If you think about the principle of observing the ant and just that principle of being tenacious and how you can apply that to your life. I mean, one of the things that most of us lack is the ability to persevere under pressure. I'm going to say that again. One of the guiding principles or characteristics that most of us lack is the ability to persevere and keep going under pressure. I mean, anything worth having, anything worth fighting for, anything worth achieving takes the ability to move under pressure, to move under adversity, to move in circumstances that don't seem to be working out in your way or working out before you are going the way we think they should go. I mean, and if you think about it, whatever really goes the way you think it's going to go, whatever really happens the way you think it's going to happen. I mean, most of the things that I've worked to achieve, worked to press towards, it was never the way I thought it was going to be. But it's learning to endure, it's learning to persevere under pressure within that challenge, to be diligent and tenacious like the ant, to get through to the goal or the destination to which you're trying to succeed. And that's one of the principles that we can take from ants as we observe them. They're not easily discouraged. And I want to ask you, are you easily discouraged? Are you easily discouraged? I think that's a fair question if we ask that question. Are you easily discouraged? And it's okay if you are. I mean, learning to be diligent, learning to persevere under pressure is a virtue and a characteristic that we develop over a period of time of just understanding that anything we're going to work to achieve, anything we're going to press into, anything that we're going to work towards that's a challenge is going to take this characteristic of learning how to be diligent and persistent in the face of adversity. In the face of adversity. I mean, being successful at something doesn't mean that you're not going to encounter challenges. Even when you're gifted in that area, or even when this is an area that you know you can excel in, we still come across obstacles. We still come across adversity. We still come across trying situations that if we have the proper response in these situations will actually help us to develop the characteristics that qualify us to actually maintain that goal or that place or that position that we're trying to get to. And see, the process that we encounter as we learn to bear under adversity, bear under trials, and be diligent is the character and the development that we need in the process that allows us to maintain the position that we're trying to get to. And we all need character development. We all need to learn that virtue or that skill of enduring under pressure, building that faith, building that grit, that strength that's much needed. Another thing that we can take from the ants is they're a creature of order. I mean, if you see ants, you know, when they found some food or a dead bug or something like that, the ants begin to march back to the colony and to the food or the place that they find in an orderly fashion. So you see them weaving in and out of line where they're going back to the colony and then where they're going back to the food or whatever they're taking. And that's something powerful too. To move strategically, to move towards a goal, to move towards a purpose, there's always an order. There's always things that need to come first. I mean, even when you're going to grow a crop, I mean, think about that. When you're going to grow a crop and you have a parcel of land or you have a piece of land, you go into the land, you clear the land out, you pull all the weeds up, and then you make rows in order. And the reason why that is done is so that you can get the most out of the field or out of the investment by putting it in an orderly fashion. You're able to take control or use most of the opportunity of the land that's available by putting it in order instead of just throwing seeds out there and just seeing where some will land and some will grow. And so learning to be in an orderly fashion and learn to put stuff in order also allows you to be effective on your journey or in the thing in which you're trying to accomplish. I mean, everything has an order. I mean, you talk about learning math. You learn how to count. You learn how to subtract. You learn how to multiply. You learn division. There's always an order to things. You don't just jump to the end part of the session and think you're going to have everything accomplished without going in some type of orderly fashion. Where there's no order, there's chaos. If you're running a business, if you're having a family, things are always done in an orderly fashion, and it's what allows things to move more effectively and efficiently as you learn a type of order. And I love how the text says, it says, go to the ant, you slugger, and consider her ways and be wise. What is a slugger? I mean, think about that. What is a slugger? And we can define that term in many different type of ways when you say, what's a slugger? I mean, a slugger can just be an outright slugger. Someone that's sitting around, not doing nothing, wasting their time, just kind of walking and going through life aimlessly. They really don't know what they're doing. Then you can have just a slugger. He's doing stuff, but what he's doing is not effective because he doesn't have an order or a type of purpose or goal in mind to get something accomplished. So it's not the fact that he's not doing things. He's just not doing things in an orderly fashion and not doing them on purpose to get expected in out of what he's doing to get those results. And so a slugger can be described many different ways. And I love that's how the proverb breaks it down. It says, go to the ant slugger, observe her ways, observe her principles, and be wise. In other words, gain understanding from just observing a simple creature as an ant. I mean, and watch what it says like this. In verse 7, it says, which having no captain, overseer, or ruler, provides her supply in the summer. In other words, the ant doesn't need someone to tell it to do this, to watch over him and do it, to do it. It's something that's embedded in them. It's a skill that's embedded in them that allows them to be effective in their purpose. And it says she provides her supply in the summer and gathers her food in the harvest. And that's another powerful thing, is knowing your timing. It's knowing your timing. Being effective is something we do on purpose. You just don't wake up, live life aimlessly, and not move with purpose and be effective. And for us that haven't learned how to be effective or not being effective in our lives, it's not because we're stupid. It's not because we don't have the ability to be effective. It's because we haven't been trained in the skills or in the understanding of how to actually be effective. You know, it's not knowledge that we've acquired. It's not knowledge that we've taken in. It's not understanding that we've allowed to sink down into our minds, that we can begin to facilitate that knowledge and allow that knowledge to be applied in our life to make that knowledge power. See, knowledge can be power, but the knowledge is not power unless it's wisdom. And wisdom is the ability to walk out that knowledge that you have, to allow that knowledge to work for you, making that knowledge become power, become an asset, become effective in your life. It says the ant supplies her food in the summer and then gathers her stuff in the harvest. I mean, think about when you begin to plant seeds. If you're a farmer, you plant these seeds. These seeds need to be nourished. There's an order to it. Once you prepare the ground, once you have the rows in order, you plant the seeds. Once the seeds are planted, you begin to nourish the seeds. How do you nourish the seeds? You allow the seeds to get sun. You provide the seeds with water. And you give the seed the opportunity to grow as it gets those nutrients, as it gets that care, as it gets that sun. And the seeds begin to produce an increase. And in essence, that's the same way of moving with purpose and learning to be diligent. See, it's easy to make a proclamation or to come up with a goal or an ideal, but it's another challenge to be able to see this goal or this purpose all the way through until it comes into flourishing. In other words, if you begin to plant an ideal or plant a goal or plant purpose in your life, you have to purposefully make sure you nourish that goal, that plan, that ideal. You have to do this on purpose so that seed can grow. And it's interesting because moving with purpose, moving under pressure, moving in the midst of adversity, learning to apply wisdom. These are everyday decisions that the individual has to constantly make every day. You know, New Year's just hit, and a lot of us may have made New Year's resolutions. So at the time you made the New Year's resolution, it sounded real good. You felt like you can do it in that moment, But the real test of it was, the real test of time, the real test of the validity of the goal or the New Year's resolution that was made is in your ability to make that decision the next day. January the 2nd, 2022. January the 5th, 2022. February the 5th, 2022. And on and on and on, so that goal, that resolution, that purpose can become concrete in your life where it's actually given time to come into fruition. Go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise, which having no captain, no overseer, no ruler, provides her supply in the summer and gathers her food in the harvest. Preparation. Preparation is very valuable. It's better to be prepared when an opportunity strikes than not to be prepared and an opportunity pass you by because you're not prepared. And there are many things that can come across us. There are many opportunities that can come across us that we couldn't have known that this opportunity was going to come. We couldn't have known that this opportunity was going to be presented to us, or it was going to come across us. But that still does not negate the fact that there is a preparation that we are supposed to be constantly in the process of, just as humans maturing, just as individuals maturing within ourselves and becoming a better person, becoming a person that lives on purpose, becoming a better person that strives to live with integrity, to live within a certain type of character where we're allowing ourselves room to grow. I mean, and I call it oppressing. I call it oppressing because there's always negative things to pull you back to do negative stuff. There's always negative aspects. There's always negative influences. There's always negative situations that can bring you down, that wants to steal your joy, that wants to steal your happiness, that wants to put you in a bad place where you're not able to prosper. And that's why, as a rule of preparation, as a rule of growth, as a rule of maturity, as a rule of person growing closer to God, growing closer to a deeper understanding of life, to living on purpose, it's a pressing that we always must do. And that pressing is, who are you when no one else is around? What do you do when no one else is around? And that's what we would call integrity. But it's growth, it's preparation. It's being willing to do what others are not willing to do. It's when the average people are doing the average thing, but you're living above that, you're living beyond that, and you're taking these necessary steps. See, if you do average thing, you get average results. If you do above average thing, you get above average results. And that goes back to that sowing and reaping. What you sow is what you will reap. And so looking at this ant and looking at the principles and skills that we can gather from the ant, a simple creature, but yet profound because they stick to the simple principles. I mean, watch what it says next. It says, provides her supplies in the summer and gathers her food in the harvest. Now watch the question. It says, how long will you slumber, O sluggard? And when will you arise from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and so shall your poverty come on you like a plower and your need like an armed bandit. And it's interesting how it describes your poverty. Your poverty is being in a situation of bankruptcy. Is being in poverty. And so a lot of times when we think of poverty, you think, oh, poverty is just someone being poor without money or material goods. But a lot of people are in poverty to love. They're in poverty to peace. They're in poverty to learning how to bear under pressure. They're in poverty of learning how just to be okay for the day. Struggling with depression, struggling with anxiety. So there's many different categories or many different situations in which a person can be in poverty or be bankrupt. Just learning how to maintain every day, And once again, I like to highlight this. It doesn't mean if you're struggling with these things that you are stupid. It just simply means that you need to give yourself the opportunity to actually learn these skills, to actually learn these characteristics, and then learn how to make them be applicable and applied in your life. And that's one of the most powerful things about learning. It's one step to learn and to acquire knowledge, but it is another step to begin to apply that knowledge, to apply that understanding, and allow that knowledge that you have learned to be applicable to in your life to actually get a result from the things that you have learned. Life is real and life is always challenging. And, one of the things that I realized in my journey of life, when I was in my modes of depression or in my modes of woe is me or I got dealt a bad hand or this is not good or, all the different human emotions we can experience at times that I know everybody has experienced. One thing I realized is life doesn't care. Life doesn't say, oh, Jahmal, I'm so sorry this happened to you. I'm so sorry that you're having a bad time. Life doesn't respond to that. Life doesn't care. Life doesn't say, oh, well, we're sorry. We're just going to take it easy on you. Life continues to happen the way life happens. And so staying in that position for an individual or staying stuck in that individual does not help them move from that position. Allowing yourself to stay under doesn't change the situation. Life responds to action, and it responds to what a person is willing to put into it. And many of the positions that a lot of us are in is because we made choice after choice after choice after choice until we ended up in the current position that we are in now. I mean, think about that. You are where you are from a series of choices you have made. Whether it's a good position, whether it's a bad position, whether it's an okay position, and whether it's a position that you want to be or you don't want to be. You are where you are. We are where we are from a series of choices that we have made. Choices. You may not have been born in a rich family. You may not have been born in a poor family. But as you get older, as you become independent, as you become separated from your family where it's you making decisions, you end up where you choose based on your thought process and the choices you have made in your life. You are the navigator. And when you think about that, it can be liberating in one fashion because it allows you as an individual to begin to start making the right type of decisions that put you in the place that you actually want to be. You don't blame other people for the position that you're in. You take responsibility for where you're at and you begin to make decisions in harmony with where you want to go. And it's okay if you don't know where you want to go. And truthfully, it's okay if you don't know where you at. Because a lot of us don't know where we're at, and we don't even know where we want to go. And that's a whole nother topic and issue within itself. But I want you to ponder about what I said, and I want you to reflect, and I want you to have that internal conversation to see where you're at. And I want you to think about the principles that we went over and think how you can apply them to your life. So I pray that this was a blessing to you and a help to you. Leave some comments, and I'll see you later. God bless.